Today we are on our way to the Dean Crowe Hall in Athlone for a premiere preview of What Every Soul Knows, which is a film by Peter Alessandria, who we had the pleasure of interviewing a couple of days ago. Basically, it's about sort of near-death experiences and getting he's got a group of 50 or 60 therapists who are very big in their field, and they've asked them different questions.
Now, I set this up as Afterlife 101. So this is for people who are not familiar. They might not even know what an NDE is, near-death experience. So I'm trying to make it as accessible as possible to people. And so there's two parts, basically. As I said, there's a series of questions that I ask, and then I have a bunch of first-person accounts of their near-death experience. So people like Jeff Olson, people like Peter Alessandria, people like Anita Moorjani. There's a lot of people who've had very well-known near-death experiences that they've written books about, and they're part of the film. But we don't focus on the death experience. We don't talk about the car accident. We don't talk about the cancer. We don't talk about, there's a very brief, for people who are not familiar with the story, there's a brief introduction to that, but we get right to the heart of it, which is, what did you learn from the experience? How did it change you? And what does it tell you about who we really are as spiritual beings?
So very different, and I'm intrigued to see how it goes. Our good friend Mary Helen has put on the premiere. She's organised it all, and she's actually in the movie as well, so super excited to see.
The soul is the beautiful expanded part of us that is always one with Source. The soul is a individuated pinpoint of light that comes from a higher...
And as regards the film, is it being to be released nationwide in America?
I'm not even finished with it yet.
Okay, so this is still...
I have 100 hours of footage, from these 55 interviews. What you're going to see in terms of the preview is about 2.5 hours of that. I have at least another 2.5 hours of usable content.
Okay, right.
So I have to figure out how I'm going to, first of all, I have to do that editing, and then I get to figure out how I'm going to present it. So I'm not sure at this point. I don't know if it's going to be 3 2-hour films, if it's going to be 1 2-hour, and then a bunch of 45 or 90-minute episodes. I really don't know. I'm actually doing more interviews. When I get back to the States, I have a couple more interviews that I'm going to film. So it's still ongoing. It's still evolving.
These tiny things, these wonderful tiny things that were the most relevant things during my life review.
The thing that I've done, which people can start today, is go to the website, everysoulknows.com, 3 words, and I have everybody's full interview available. So the 55 people that I've interviewed, you can see their full 1-hour interviews, or 2 hours, or 40 minutes, whatever they are, for free on the website, on the YouTube channel for the film. It's available right now. And I wanted to create a resource for people who are not familiar with this.
I believe a soul is a spark of the divine source of energy that all of creation comes from.
The soul is an energetic reflection of Source, of all that is.
I love this topic, the afterlife. I think it gives a lot of people hope who are dealing with grief. I saw a story there from a guy about the life review, which I thought was done amazing. It's a topic I really think is fascinating. I think more people should be educated about it, and I think a movie like this needs to be seen, needs to get out there, So I would definitely support something like this.
And one of the most amazing pictures I ever saw was this child who maybe was 6, had drawn a picture for PMH about what it looked like to die. And this kid was from the South, and this kid had grown up in an obviously very Christian household. And then the bottom of an A4 piece of paper, in the bottom corner, there was a little yellow cross. And for the child, it represented the religion that he was being raised in. And then when she asked, "What is this?" all of these streaks that went all across the rest of the page, he goes, "That's what it's really like." And I went, "Out of the mouths of babes." And it was just the most beautiful description. It's not that your religion is small. It's not that your belief system is small. It's not, or not right. It's that it's smaller than what we've experienced when we've been out and back in again.
Yeah. I'm so delighted to see that not only Ireland, but Athlone was chosen to be the launch pad for the European premiere of this. I laugh and I'm like, why? When people are like, why Athlone? Same reason I came here 25 years ago working on metaphysics, because I'd never be out of work here. So what better place for people who have been ensconced in kind of, a singular religion, for them to be able to ask these questions that are kind of outside of the box. It's time. And I think it's really important that that we bring in these fresh new perspectives, because as we saw with the participants and the people who've come in, people are ready to talk about this. People are ready to talk about their unique, outside of the box experiences about life beyond death. And films like this just open that dialogue up. And I am just so grateful that he chose Athlone to launch. For me also, I've been doing this for so long, to sit in as the observer as opposed to the one who was up there telling the story, to feel the energy of the room shift as people connected, as the empathy started to flow, as people were listening to other experiencers tell their stories. Because listen, we're just 8 billion versions of the same light.
In many ways, it's sometimes watered down, and it's in many ways not enough, right? Because a lot of us hold back. A lot of us, I didn't feel comfortable talking about my near-death experience in my Catholic and Episcopal family. My father was Catholic, my mother was Episcopalian or Anglican. Talking about my death experience when I was just 17 years old with my family of origin was a very working class. The movie Billy Elliot, when I saw that movie, I was like, oh my God, that's my life. I was Billy Elliot. My dad was a Marine, not, who carried a switchblade and ran numbers for the mafia. That was my dad. He wasn't a carousing barman like in the movie, but similar personality types. So to be able to talk like we can now, these conversations are expanding and more people are participating in them. And people who may not have had to get hit over the head like we did in order to have the conversation.
I think it's really fantastic. I love the idea that people are talking about these important conscious raising topics. It's just brilliant. The idea that we're remembering who we are, that we're remembering our truth, that we're actually as a people, I think something like this demonstrates that these conversations are expanding, and we're knowing that we are not separate. You are not someone that's an other outside of me. We are one, we are connected, and we're all held in that love that is, like they talked about in the film, always there and always present.
Humanity. My human side has its issues.
Really?
No, not at all. But we've just begun. We're just fetuses in our evolution, understanding, and expansion, and to everything that is out there, to the growth, the potential.
I love Ireland. It's always beautiful to come here. I love the energy. I love the people. I love the actual food here. It's amazing. It's improved. It really is. It's great. Yeah, it's been just a joy. This is probably my 7th time. I love going to the ancient sites. I love feeling that indigenous sort of energy that's in the land here. It's really a great experience.
Today was great. Very thought-provoking. Going into something that I didn't really know a whole lot about, or I thought the interesting thing was seeing so many therapists, was 50 or 60 being interviewed, all have had near-death experiences, where before you kind of go, you'd hear one person say this, or I often hear, obviously, Mary Helen talk about it, but when you start to see lots and lots of people with similar things that have happened to them, you start to realize, okay, maybe there's a lot more to this than meets the eye, just because we don't understand it or maybe don't like it. But it really sort of opened up a lot. And to hear the same question being asked of 50 different people and getting 50 slightly different answers, seeing their perspective on it and what they went through, you saw this huge picture. It's the same question, but lots of different ways that it was answered or people saw it. So I thought that was really interesting. The whole day we were there setting up to do our interviews, so it was quite exciting to see and do something like this. I know we've done some at our yoga festival, so this was something just a little bit different. So the idea today was to get in and film the actual process from beginning to end. As you mentioned, we had Kira Lawless, who actually wrote a song for the actual film and performed it live on the day. And if anyone hasn't seen Kira or heard her, go online, go on her Instagram. She's amazing. She gigs a lot around Athlone and the Midlands, and actually will become sort of national, international in the next 6 months. She's brilliant. So she was fantastic. So that's what we were doing, listening to that, watching, sort of filming up, setting up, watching people come in, interacting with people. So it was a little different experience, but it was really exciting. I really enjoyed it. And the Dean Crowe Hall is a lovely venue for anyone that's been there or even hasn't been there. It's this lovely little auditorium, holds about 400 people, has a little bar there, but it's a real sort of close-knit. And at the end, then there was a questions and answers. So everybody went in, had a cup of tea or had a drink and got to talk to Peter, and Peter Bedard was there as well, and Mary Helen and Kira, and they all answered questions on the film itself and their perspective. So it was a lovely sort of end to the thing where we all got to give our own perspective so we could see what we thought on the day. So very, very, very good, and I thoroughly enjoyed the evening.